Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, marriage and family therapist in training, performer, and 2-time Emmy Award winner. Each week, I bring on people from all walks of life to talk to them about their inspiring stories in the fields of self-development, relationships, business, and how you can love yourself even more. For more about me and the podcast, visit us at loveyouevenmore.com. Welcome, Denise Schonwald, to the Love You Even More podcast. Denise is a nationally licensed mental health counselor as well as a registered nurse of nearly 30 years. She works in private practice in Florida with clients all over the country, and she has been on a podcast before discussing one of her previous books. I really am so excited to have you back because you sent me a couple of books, including the one we're going to talk about, which is Healing Your Body by Mastering Your Mind. And I read it over the holiday and I could not put it down. And we're going to talk all about how our minds are so connected to our body and how that affects us through our health, including disease and why our bodies react the way they do when our minds are not well. So Denise, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me back. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming back. So I loved your first book. I love your writing. And I know I said this last time, but I really do love your writing. It just flows so easily and it's so understandable and it feels very warm. I read your books before we met and I was like, oh, she's just so lovely. And I just feel like I understand her so well. And reading Healing Your Body by Mastering Your Mind was no different. And it really is so much of what I have studied as well with your mind, how it connects to your body. And there's so much work and science that proves like, yes, this is very much a body thing. Mm-hmm. So let me, in your words, how did you decide to come up and write this book?
It was really interesting how the book evolved because I've been in nursing for many, many years. I did critical care. And I love the fact that I thought that body is just so sophisticated. When people would come in with some sort of complaint, it's very easy, if you've done it for a long time, to sort of narrow down why this is happening. And I love that about medicine. When I bridged over to psychology, I thought, why do some people get anxiety? How come some people have depression and struggle with trauma? To me, it didn't really make any sense. And so what I was trying to understand is maybe just by them talking about it, I could help them work through it. But yet that didn't seem like a clear answer to me. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was working with a psychiatrist and I said to him, I said, this is funny. I said, as I'm sitting working with clients, I'm noticing correlations. Like a lot of times when people have stomach problems, they actually don't have any control at home or so forth. And he said, sort of matter of factly, well, of course, if you understand the chakras. And I said, oh, okay. I had no idea what he was talking about. None. Mm-hmm. So I went back to my computer. I Googled chakra best I could. And I started to read about it. And I thought, wow, this is really how the body works. This is sort of the way that the energy in the body will eventually, if it's not open and flowing, will manifest physically. Mm-hmm. And so I started to study all kinds of like why spirituality is so important and why our mental health is so critical and vital. And then right around COVID, when we were all sitting home, not doing a whole lot, my husband's like, I don't know why you just don't write a book about this. And so I wrote it based on my own experience as a therapist and a nurse, because I felt like I had a really good degree of knowledge and I could bring it all together and hopefully something that was easily digestible.
It absolutely is. It just is it's perfect for someone who knows about this and it's perfect for someone who doesn't. And you go through each chakra per chapter, talking about what each chakra signifies, and then the areas of the body that it affects, and then what can come if that chakra is blocked. I know a lot of people talk about somatic therapy, and we've all heard the book, The Body Keeps the Score, which is a very long book. It's very dense, but fantastic. Mm-hmm. And great. I felt like this was such a perfect book to read if you're interested in that, but you need something that's like you said, very digestible. So why don't we, for those of people who actually don't know what chakras are, I assume most of the people listening do, but just in case you're new, tell them what chakras are and how we know where they are in our bodies.
Chakras are essentially like a wheel or a disc. And what these provide, or what their function is certain emotions that we experience are sort of filtered, if you will, through the chakras. A good example that I can give most people that they can relate to is you're around somebody and you're not exactly sure you can trust them.
Hmm.
And you may say to me, I have a gut feeling there's something not right about this person.
Hmm.
And you don't really know why you feel it in your stomach, but actually, trust is one of the emotions or energies that is sort of filtered through the solar plexus, which is the chakra right above the belly.
Hmm.
What we know about is that long periods of time with energy blockages will give a wonderful opportunity for disease to come in and do its thing.
Right.
So it's looking for a quiet place where it's not going to be disturbed, where it can go replicate and cause all kinds of problems.
I think what's so fascinating, and don't mind my cat, she's very noisy right now. I don't know if you can hear her. Um, I think what's interesting is that um, these blockages do happen in an area where, we do feel fear or we feel abandonment, and it finds exactly where it's manifesting in your life emotionally.
Mhm.
A lot of women have a lot of issues in their second chakra because that's where all of our female organs are. And like you said, like in your sacral chakra, it's your stomach, it's your gut. A lot of people get nervous stomachs or have, Crohn's disease or things like this, where it is the manifestation of not looking at that emotion that's sitting and finding a home, as you said, and doing something about it. And most of the time, it just happens because it's been so long and nobody's decided to help themselves, and now they are actually physically ill, which is kind of the worst situation here. Um,
Yes. Many times too, we say something like, it runs in my family.
mhm.
And but what happens is that same sort of emotional struggles do tend to be something that goes down from generation to generation.
Yeah,
Many times by the time we get to the doctor, we feel like it's a fluke that all of a sudden we have a diagnosis, but it really isn't. If you understand the body, that has actually been going on for long periods of time, starting in the nervous system and in the chakras.
absolutely. And would you also say that that's like a genetic code that's coming down in people's DNA through the
Could be.
generations?
It's certainly
Um,
something to look at. For example, like autoimmune is
mhm.
usually something that's been there a long time. Goes all the way back to like long periods of years through childhood. Maybe they're in their 40s, but autoimmune has a very long history.
Right. And more women suffer from autoimmune than men,
Mhm.
due to all kinds of different types of trauma that you're right. And it does just activate, especially as a nurse and seeing this in the flesh, like literally.
Mhm.
What do you think happens to finally make it activate if it's been sitting there for so long in the chakra waiting?
Well, eventually, if it sits there long enough, it's just going to manifest. It's just going to happen. One of the interesting ones that I found just fascinating is breast cancer.
Mm.
Because when I first went into therapy, a lot of the oncologists would send people that were newly diagnosed. And I would ask them, I would say, before you were diagnosed, what was your life like? And they say, well, I'm chronically anxious, or bitter and resentful. I've had a rough life, I've had a lot of grief. And so in the book, I talk about it. I called one of the oncologists and I said, this is really interesting, the correlation that I have with the chakras. And I said, do you agree? And he said, oh, absolutely. He said,
Mm.
it starts on blocking around the heart chakra, and people will have lung problems, heart problems. But with women, a lot of times it manifests in breast cancer, unfortunately.
Right, right. I mean, it truly is like your heart is broken, and then you see the manifestation of it. Um, I know so many people have heart issues, whether it's heart disease or breast cancer, in that area. And it kind of breaks my heart because it just shows how much someone hasn't tried to, help within themselves, whether that was old trauma from childhood or if it was a horrible, loss of a loved one or a divorce or something like that. Especially as a counselor, how important is it to be in therapy to work on these things? Because I think there's a very old mindset still that like either I don't want to think about this, the tragedy or whatever it was, I don't want to think about this. I want to just keep moving forward. It was in the past. Let's let it be in the past. That people still really hold on to.
They do. And they're very fearful of allowing it to come up because it's very painful.
Mm-hmm.
But even if our life is going well, every developmental stage, we have a lot of struggles.
Hmm.
And if we don't sort of work through them in a way that's healthy, then again, we're going to cause these chakras to start to block.
Right. What are some healthy ways that we can work on, that we can do?
One of the key things that I think is self-care,
Mm-hmm.
which we as women are not so great with self-care.
Yeah. I
I'll
know
say things.
we talk a lot about it, but we don't do a lot of
We
it.
do. We do. And I'll say, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? Oh, I don't have time for hobbies. Very busy raising the children. I'm very busy working. And unfortunately, the body really never gets a chance to sort of rest and replenish. A lot of people don't sleep well. And so every opportunity that we're giving the body to balance, we're not really giving it that space. And then the next thing you know, we're living with our chronic anxiety or suffering through our depression and not realizing eventually it's going to take a toll.
Absolutely. I think, sleep, I just read something where women are supposed to get like 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night to have our hormones regulate properly.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't even know if I've ever slept that long in my life.
Mhm.
How are we supposed to do that? So let me ask you, how are we supposed to try to find self care when we are so busy and so packed with things to do?
Mhm. And what I will tell many people is you'll never find it, you have to make it.
Mm,
I have found that many of us are going to our devices so frequently that it's really costing a lot of time and effort that we're not really spending doing self-care. In my personal life, I don't get on any technology for the first hour just because I don't want to start my day already being very stressed and feeling very rushed and
yeah.
so forth. So that's something that I have sort of incorporated into my life, which takes a little bit of, it's a little challenging at first because the mind thinks that it needs to check whatever, email or social media and so forth. And it's learning that no, actually, I need this time to sort of start my day and maybe meditate or whatever we need to do in the morning, just to have that time to let the body sort of ground and balance.
Absolutely. Um, we are doing this podcast during the fires in California right now, and I've been affected by it, as have so many people. It's truly outstanding. And one of the things, I'm just thinking about waking up in the morning. I'm like, that is the first thing I do right now is I'm checking the Watch Duty app to see how things are going, and
Hmm.
I'm checking the news, and I'm just checking everything. Not a great way to wake up, not gonna lie. I've been doom scrolling again. It's not good.
Hmm.
And what I noticed yesterday, in fact, was that, or I think it started the night before, I was like, oh my gosh, my stomach, like not a stomach ache, but I just felt funny. And I woke up yesterday and I felt full on sick, as if I was coming down with something and it was just, I was nauseated. I mean, it was not fun. And I thought, oh, it's the air quality. Except I'm in a bubble where the air quality is not bad. It's moderate to good, depending on the time of day, but we're kind of okay, sort of. And I just thought, oh my gosh, let me do all the things today to detox. And I wasn't even hungry, but I was like trying to have some juices. And anyway, woke
Hmm.
up this morning, I feel fine, feel just fine. So I wanted to bring that up to you and get your opinion on what was actually going on with me, because clearly I wasn't coming down with anything, nor did
Hmm.
I think I was. But when that happens with someone, what is actually happening there?
Well, what you're going through right now is a trauma.
Yeah.
And you might not have really sort of defined it as a trauma. And when we're going through these major shifting, this is an energy shift, the mind becomes very active. And the mind starts to imagine and come up with all these scenarios. And so now we're very hyper vigilant. And so what happens is the body, the chakras start to block. Maybe they'll open and close depending upon what's going on in that particular situation, which is why you have nausea and then the next day you feel a little bit better. The body's trying to sort of recover and balance again. But we had something very similar in Florida when we had the hurricanes.
Right.
We were all going around with what we call hurricane fatigue
Yeah.
because there was so much adrenaline because we also had to evacuate and that's not just grabbing a bag and getting in the car. That's several hours of, hunkering down and so forth. And we were all exhausted for weeks and weeks, if not even months. And I know myself included.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm just foreseeing so many people that will have this, this fatigue and these symptoms, and it's hard to know, are they symptoms caused by environmental causes? Are they symptoms caused by trauma and your body reacting to that? Um, let's actually go through all the chakras and what
Mhm.
they affect because clearly, excuse me, clearly yesterday the biggest thing I was feeling was nausea and my stomach just being very like bloated and bubbly and
Mhm.
just like I just felt awful,
Mhm. Mhm.
excuse me. The air. So well, let's start with the first chakra, the root chakra,
Mhm.
and just tell us where it is.
Okay.
And also, let me just preface too, because some people might think like I have a disc in my
Mhm.
body. It's not
Mhm.
an actual disc, it's energetic, but maybe
Mhm.
describe what that looks like and how it
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
works.
Yeah. And it, again, that we describe it as a disc or a wheel. But if you can imagine when somebody walks into the room and you say, oh my goodness, she lights up the room, you're actually feeling that energy flow, almost if I could describe like a fan coming off of that person.
Hmm.
And that's what we love that feeling. We feel very connected to them, even if we don't really know them.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, when somebody walks in and that energy is not flowing, you might say, oh my goodness, I wonder what's going on with her. Or she doesn't seem herself. And
Mm-hmm.
even though you don't exactly understand what's going on, because you haven't really spoken to that person, you can sense that energy blocking.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so this is a good way of just sort of understanding about what they do without really understanding if you don't have never heard the word chakra before.
Right.
But we have seven major ones. The first one is located at the base of the spine, so about right at the tailbone. And this one's a very important one. It's our grounding chakra. This should develop hopefully normally in childhood because we learn cultural values, we learn rules. Hopefully we feel loved, we feel at peace. And so this should give us a really good foundation. Unfortunately, many people have not had that privilege.
Mm.
They've grown up with maybe a very stressful home, maybe there's addiction, maybe there's been abuse. And so what happens is, and this is sort of the center of a lot of personality disorders will can develop later on, but physically we have a lot of problems with back problems, lower back problems,
Mm-hmm.
rectal problems, autoimmune is there, depression. So this is where all of this will sort of to manifest physically. Also, we have hip pain. So if you imagine the tailbone and you're sort of connecting that area, you could almost guess what might manifest if that energy is blocked.
Wow, that's so interesting. So many people talk about lower back pain. That's just such a
Mhm.
common feeling. Then with the more blocked it is that the more serious the physical conditions would be?
It's more of the long period of time it's been blocked.
Got it.
So you know that particularly if it's root chakra, it's got a pretty good history,
Got it.
depression and so forth. So I've gotten so if I understand what's going on with somebody physically, I already understand where I need to narrow down as far as mental health. So
Is
I'm
that
asking into like childhood trauma, what was your relationship with your parents? are you close to your brothers and sisters? I can almost guarantee you if they have any of those health problems, the answer is there's problems
Yeah,
or there's not a good, healthy relationship.
absolutely. I wanted to ask one more thing before we go to the second chakra.
Mhm.
If you come into a room, as you were talking about, and someone is like an energy vampire, what is
Mhm.
that chakra
Yeah. And
wise?
that can also be, well, it could be anxiety. So that's up a little bit more in the heart, but it could also be there's not a feeling of peace. And so you sense this, that they're not real comfortable. Sometimes they apologize a little bit too frequently. They seem very agitated, or they don't seem comfortable. They seem very on edge.
Hmm. Hmm.
And all you know is they're not feeling at peace.
Okay. And where would that live in the chakras?
Well, and some of these sort of feelings live in a couple places.
Okay.
So that's also at root, could be at heart, and also in the solar plexus is fear.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to
So,
chakra two.
okay, chakra two is the sacral chakra. So the emotions or the experiences that I'm understanding here are guilt, which women we attach to guilt very, very, very easily.
Hmm. Hmm.
Money can be there. Obviously, sex is there because that's where all of that sort of originates there. Power and control, that's a big one.
Fascinating.
And an easy example that I can give that most people can relate to is couple wants to have a baby. They can't seem to conceive. She feels guilty. They're really stressed about it. Finally, they adopt, and a couple months later, they're pregnant.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. So then she felt guilty because she couldn't get pregnant.
Hmm.
And then the release of like, I don't have to get pregnant anymore
Exactly. I
unblocks
have a
it.
baby, and I'm now focusing not on that. We also, as women, struggle with power and control.
Hmm.
For some reason, my mother would say we try to be God's assistant. We love power. We love power and control.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we have problems menstruating regularly. We have very painful periods. We have all kinds of bowel problems and so forth. And
Wow.
again, we can go back to those emotions and understand that they have contributed to what we've got looking in front of us on a physical realm.
So if we were to let go more of having to have power and control, would that help?
It would help, but we're very committed to that. Those of us that like it. So I get a lot of yeah buts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, and I say, and they go, how do I let go of that? And then I say, well, how do you jump into a swimming pool? You gotta just be willing to release it. But a lot of times, again, it's fear of if I release it, maybe I won't be okay because I have
Hmm.
to control it so that I feel good about
Right.
it.
And if they don't feel grounded in their lives with the first chakra, then
Correct.
how could they possibly feel safe to do that? I think also this would have to do a lot with the divine feminine and learning to receive. I mean, that whole
Mhm.
area is about receiving. And
Yes.
so if we're not letting ourselves receive because we're so much more in our masculine and we're so much more in control and making everything our way, especially with our masculine partners,
Mhm.
yeah, the power dynamic's completely off and we'll
Yes.
never feel peaceful.
Yes. And then we start to rely on what they call conditional energy. We need a lot of things to be okay so that we're okay. And can you imagine how difficult that is?
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea what that's like. None. How can we just like one little like tip, how can we be better at that with our partners if we're trying to be less controlling with our partners?
Do you mean more of trying to micromanage our partners, or how do you
Yeah,
mean?
I feel like there's so much micromanaging that is so unnecessary. How can women just like let go a little bit to try to unblock this chakra?
Well, I will tell you something that helps me, not only with a spouse or even with children, is I understand that when God or the universe is coming in to teach, it's going to come in with some sort of suffering. It's going to be uncomfortable, and not to mean it's harmful, it's just not always pleasant.
Yeah.
And to come in and try to control and fix and all of that, first of all, it's impossible
Yeah.
And it's second of all, if it's something that these people, whoever it is, needs to learn or experience, we want to allow that to happen. Certainly not for them to be harmed, but to allow them to, I don't know, be disappointed or frustrated and so forth.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. And I think we love so much that we don't want them to suffer,
Mhm.
especially if it's a child or something, and if
Mhm.
all in like, make sure they're not in harm. But yeah, I see that a lot with people. I've been there too. I've been really letting go of that recently. So,
Mhm.
yay. Okay,
Mhm.
third chakra.
Okay, so the solar plexus, and this is our favorite, particularly for women, because this affects many, many, many women. The energies in the solar plexus, right over the belly, fear, which is something very sensitive to criticism,
Ooh.
self-esteem is there, trust is there. So these are all energies. And so when the solar plexus gets blocked, the three things that we usually will do instinctually is overeat,
Mm.
not eat, or drink a lot of alcohol.
Why is that? I mean, I get the eating part, but why the alcohol part? Is it to calm down?
Yeah, it's usually to feel better because alcohol will make us feel less fearful or
Got it.
it's doing something for ease.
Okay.
So the same thing food is doing. It's bringing us relief. It's bringing us comfort. If we, we have an attachment to alcohol,
Right.
we want to feel better.
Right. And then obviously under eating or overeating. Also the under eat. Well, do um do eating disorders stem from this chakra?
Hmm.
They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. What other diseases come from this? I mean, I'm imagining like Crohn's or stomach cancer or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, stomach diabetes is there.
Oh,
And basically, if you want some to sort of have a quick snapshot of the solar plexus, if it's blocked, it's saying that your relationship with yourself is not healthy.
mm,
So
wow.
that's if I had to say it in one sentence. And so it manifests by maybe not taking care of ourselves, overeating, very sensitive to criticism. So this fear, you can imagine because it's sort of in the middle, it's sort of, command central for a lot of problems.
Do you think that people will gain fat in that area as protection because they're afraid to be seen?
Can.
Okay,
Sometimes we gain fat when the second chakra is blocked if we've had some sexual trauma.
got it. Because
So,
yeah, because so many women are always like, "Oh, I have this like bit of fat on my stomach, and it won't go away." And but that I mean that could be hormonal too. But
well, it also could be increased cortisol because when we're fearful, we excrete a lot of cortisol, and the body holds on to everything because it thinks we're going to war.
right, right,
So it holds on to fat and it holds on because it's trying to insulate because it thinks that maybe it's not going to eat. And so it's getting ready. It's sort of shutting down, if you will.
right. What other attributes of this chakra are really important for people to know?
This is where self-care really comes in.
Okay.
So the other thing is, and what I'd like to sort of touch on a little bit is sensitivity to criticism.
Yeah, yeah,
When somebody says something that's not very nice and so forth, that's sort of a result of their own struggles that are being projected onto us. We tend to take it personally when it really has nothing to do with us.
right,
If it's true, then it's something that we should probably evaluate and maybe make some changes or understand that that was their perception of something we did or said, and we should at least evaluate it.
right. Yes, there are so many, well, people, I'll say people, but women especially, I think we are very, very vulnerable to criticism. I think because we're
Mhm.
always trying to do it right. We're trying to do it all and do it
Mhm.
perfectly. And then if we get criticized, it's like, yeah, but look what I'm doing. I'm doing everything. I don't know. I'm just coming up with a
Mhm.
scenario.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was going to say, if we have a really good relationship with ourselves, we can experience that, but we don't necessarily have to go to one of these extremes to try to correct it.
Got it. I love that. Okay. The fourth chakra, where is that?
Okay. So that's right over the heart. We
Okay.
have wonderful emotions there. We have love, compassion, forgiveness. And if you think of maybe a doctor or some sort of health practitioner that you go to, what you're really trying to do is connect with their heart. You're
Mm.
trying to feel that compassion and feel that they care and so forth. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't feel that.
Hmm.
And so things that also anxiety is in the heart, bitterness, resentment is there. Grief is very hard on the heart, particularly
Yeah.
for older people when they go through that. And again, heart problems, blood pressure, asthma, breast problems. So again, if you think about the heart and you think about what's sort of around that, you can almost anticipate what kind of problems may manifest depending upon how long it's been there.
If a woman is feeling fear in her sacral and then she's also feeling heartbroken, um, how could she take self care into her life to try to help with those things?
One of the things that I really try to do when I'm experiencing those things, because although they're not comfortable, the body's trying to signal you that something needs some help.
Yeah.
We're really good medically. We go to the doctor when we have pain or a symptom, where we make an appointment right away. Psychologically, when we start to feel all these sort of shifts, maybe we need a little bit extra self-care.
Hmm.
With what you're going through right now, you need to be extra compassionate. You need to give yourself a lot of grace.
Thanks. I try.
I said it many times. I think after the hurricanes here, I don't know how many times I went to bed at 8 o'clock.
Oh
I
yeah.
was just I was just tapped out.
Yeah. That's very yeah. Okay. Next chakra, the throat chakra.
So now we're with the throat. This one's a really interesting one because sort of the experiences here are speaking our truth or being listened to,
Mm,
being able to articulate our needs. And many times in childhood, if we've struggled with that or we weren't allowed to use our voice. So what I see with women and men is thyroid problems,
right.
neck problems, teeth problems, gum problems, grinding. Following your dharma is another, your purpose. So some people were never allowed to be, I don't know, an artist. The family insisted that they go to medical school. And a lot of times that can sit in the throat. Addiction also comes out of the throat chakra.
Oh, that's a big one too, because what you just described is so many people, and it's very. I'm going to use myself as an example because I do have an underactive thyroid. It's very slight. It's not that big, but it's there.
Mhm.
It's generational in the women in my
Mhm.
family. On my mom's side, I am a singer and I speak. I mean, my voice is really important in my life. And I've always thought, like, I wonder if I would have a thyroid condition if I felt that I could speak up even more than I already do, because I
Mhm.
feel like I'm not. If someone starts to actually do what they need to do for themselves, whether that's following their dharma or speaking up more or all of the above,
Mhm.
can that course correct disease?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times we're hesitant to speak up because we don't really have the language skills. We start to say something and it doesn't go well because we're just not articulating it clearly or by feeling grounded. Because many times when we speak, we start to feel really uneasy.
Mhm.
It doesn't go well, and then we just clam up and don't say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I just experienced that with somebody recently, and I had such compassion for them as they were trying to speak. I was like, oh gosh, you are so nervous. And there's nothing, I tried to do my best to just make him feel better, but I could tell he's really struggling. And I haven't seen someone actually start a sentence and just stop. It was so sad. But I've been there too. I think we've all been in a place where we just second guess ourselves, we doubt ourselves.
Mhm.
What kind of diseases besides thyroid can that look like?
Throat problems,
Okay.
laryngitis,
Hmm.
gum problems, and again, the teeth. So if you
Yeah.
you have a lot of dental problems and so forth, you got to look at the throat chakra.
Right. Gosh, that really
But
resonates for me.
mhm.
Like you
We have
just,
to be careful when we're people pleasers too, because when we're people pleasers, we're not really honoring what we want.
yeah,
We're doing whatever we've got to do so that everybody else is happy, but the body sort of takes the hit for that.
right. I think something I've really understood about people pleasing too is that we're doing it to feel safe in our own worlds.
Mhm.
It's kind of a little manipulative, not really. I wouldn't
Mhm.
really call it super manipulative, but it is to keep us safe.
Mhm.
But in the end, it ends up hurting us, as you're describing.
Mhm. Yeah, we're
Uh,
trying to make everybody else happy so that we can feel okay.
yeah, yeah, and we're not really okay. So
No.
the
No.
next chakra, what number is this now?
Okay, so now we're in our third eye, so we're in our sixth chakra, which is right between the eyebrows. So this is our IQ, intelligence. It's interesting because I check people's energy, and when it's rarely blocked, but when it is, usually they have some sort of like ADHD or some sort of intellectual challenge, some sort of developmental delay.
Mm,
Pick it up a lot with kids,
yeah.
but not only our IQ but our EQ.
Mm,
And so this is getting above the mind and seeing a little bit more of the bigger picture.
hmm. Wow.
I was going to say, when I was nursing, I used a lot of my intuitive abilities because a lot of times they looked great on paper, but when I went in to see them, I just didn't think they looked good, and the color of their skin didn't look good. There was something more going on, and 100% it was right because it's again, this is the third eye. This is the power of the third eye. We're actually a lot smarter than we give ourselves credit for because we let the mind get a little bit too involved.
Yeah. I mean, women are so intuitive and men can be so intuitive, but I mean, we really take the cake, guys. We do. Oh, sorry.
We do.
And
Well,
I
because
love,
we're mothers, because we have the ability to have children and we're nurturers and
right. And I think you make such an excellent point because we can have a conversation with someone and be like, "Are you okay? Like something's wrong." I can tell something.
mhm,
Like this is such a typical like little like argument in the couple where a woman's like, "What? I can tell something's wrong." No, no, everything's fine. No, I'm fine. No,
mhm,
you're not. You're not fine. And no, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. It's like, no, we
mhm,
see through all of it.
mhm,
When that's coming up with trying to trust your intuition, and the mind is like,
mhm,
loud and talking
mhm,
over all of that. What can we do to actually be a little bit more in tune with our intuition, especially
mhm,
if someone has ADHD or ADD or some sort of
mhm,
cognitive issue like that?
mhm. The first thing we have to do is be still and be quiet, which is we have a really hard time with. If our thoughts are fear-based, so we're starting to we're coming up with all these scenarios and we're worried. Okay, now we're in our mind.
Yeah.
If we can sort of step away from it and look at it to sort of just understand and be aware, then we're more in our intuitive mind, or they call that your inner knowing or your higher self.
Hmm. Okay.
And it's hard to do when we're uncomfortable because with the first thing we do is go to our mind when we're uncomfortable, and then the mind loves its job, but it's not very insightful.
Yeah. Go watch Inside Out, guys. Did you watch the
Hmm.
second Inside
No, I
Out?
loved it.
Ah,
Loved it.
I loved it too. I just watched it the other day. I was like, this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And our last chakra is our crown chakra.
Yes,
Explain.
and this is our connection to the divine, to God, to nature. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be religious. It just means knowing that there's something more other than yourself. And this is where faith comes in. This is sometimes we have sort of a depression where we're not sure what will happen after we die. And so this is when that seventh chakra gets blocked.
Mm,
It's hard because the way that the universe guides us is doors will shut and open. And this is all sort of beyond our control, obviously.
mhm.
But many times this causes our lower chakras to block because we would like to control it.
Mm. Got it. Yeah.
So meditating, if you're a prayerful person, trying to understand the meaning and the wisdom of difficult times will help that seventh chakra sort of open, and you feel a real connection with each other, and also, we're all one in the end.
Right. And having gone through the hurricanes back east and the fires here, it's such a beautiful time to really come together and have that
Mhm.
community. I would imagine that would just help your seventh chakra open
Mhm.
even more, right?
Yes, it was interesting because people were just stepping up in Florida. We were all just helping each other, and neighbors were coming together, and we were all reaching out and checking on each other and so forth. So, although it was a really tough time, there was a lot of beautiful things that came from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. It's been beautiful. I think LA gets such a bad rap, and I'm a native, so I have
Mhm.
a very different perspective of the city than people who come here to be something. And to watch everyone just come together, not even questioning, just what can I
Mhm.
do? It's
Mhm.
been so beautiful. It's been really
Mhm.
lovely. It just shows
Yes.
humanity is always, always there, even if
Mhm.
we feel separate.
Mhm. It's absolutely true.
Well, this is wonderful. I love this book. Please, guys, go get Healing Your Body by Mastering Your Mind by Denise Schonwald.
Mhm.
It is such a lovely read. It gets into this. You can always reference back if you're having issues in different chakras. You can go and be like, oh, that's what's going on, which I find really helpful. When I'm like,
Mhm.
something's up, let me go see where that's located and what's happening.
Mhm.
Is there anything you would like to make sure we understand about all of this before we go?
The only thing I did want to offer is if the listeners would like to go to my website, which is deniseshonwald.com, if they will email me, I'd be happy to send them a copy of the book.
Perfect. I love it.
So you're welcome to get it on Amazon or wherever you get your books from, but I also would be happy to send a copy. My goal and my mission is to help people with their mental health, more so than I'd like to be a millionaire selling books.
Oh, we all appreciate that. She has so many beautiful books, including a children's book that was so sweet too. I loved it. Well, thank you so much, Denise. It's been so lovely talking to you, and thank you for all of your wisdom. It's very appreciated.
You're welcome.